All right, y'all. So the Supreme Court upheld the TikTok ban. I just want to make it very clear who's next. If this was really about our safety, I'd be okay with it. It's not even really about TikTok to me because, we could all move on and be fine. It's not a necessity. It's all the extra details. It's about why and how. And, I think people in America, we've always been put against each other just because it's, Democrat or Republican or whatever. But you know what? At the end of the day, all of these people are scandalous. All of them. That's the reality. So we mad at each other when they're all scandalous. Isn't that wild? We got to do better. But anyway, let's watch these rabbit hole videos. Y'all are about to be blown. Okay? I need y'all to watch this. I knew a lot of this, but seeing it in plain sight is a whole nother thing. Y'all, I had some CB chips, so I saw something green in my teeth. So don't judge me. Don't judge me.
Since we're all talking about oligarchs, let me tell you about my oligarch, Jeff Bezos. You probably didn't know this could happen in America, but oligarchs can actually hire former prosecutors to try to put Americans in prison. My oligarch did that to my family. My husband, Carl, worked at Amazon for 8 years. Got great reviews, got promoted. He had an employment contract that Amazon wrote, Jeff's original employment contract. And in that contract, it said that while he worked at Amazon, he could carve out time to do things on his own, including start his own company and seek investors as long as they weren't investors in Amazon, do business with entities doing business with Amazon, so long as his arrangement wasn't substantially similar to Amazon's arrangement. My husband left, started his own real estate development company, and was soaring because he works on data centers, which are, good business. My husband's also very smart. Anyway, about a year later, the FBI knocks on our door and tells my husband Amazon is accusing him of a federal crime. What's the federal crime? Doing what his employment contract said he could do. Starting a company and doing business with entities that were doing business with Amazon. But my husband's like, my employment contract allows me to do that. DOJ is like, I can't hear you. What are you saying? And the reason is because the oligarch wanted my husband to go to prison. So first we learned later that the DOJ never asked Amazon to see my husband's employment contract. So they said my husband criminally violated his employment terms, but the prosecutors actually didn't ask to see the contract, which is pretty wild. I thought that was a basic function of the FBI and federal prosecutors to investigate a crime when they think what may have happened. But here, I think what happened is that the oligarch said, I need you to go after this person. And then the federal prosecutors tried to find a crime to satisfy Mr. Bezos. I don't know, maybe they don't check evidence ever. It just seems like not a thing. Maybe that's only reserved for when the oligarchs order the criminal prosecutions. Also, I can prove all of this in writing. The DOJ admitted to us later in writing that they didn't have the contract. And based on the lies about my husband, the DOJ seized all of our bank accounts. So in America, the government can take your money on the suspicion of a crime, even if they don't charge you or prove it. So the government took all of our bank accounts. We had 4 little girls who were under 6. One was a year old. And we asked if we could have money back to feed our children. And the federal prosecutor, Samantha Bateman, told my husband's lawyers that we could feed our kids and have money for groceries if he would plead guilty to the oligarch's allegations. That didn't happen. So, I feel like it's kind of qualifies as an oligarchy when a billionaire can get the government to take all of your money, have the FBI raid your home, and tell you have to plead guilty to continue to feed your children so they don't die. Feels like some oligarch shit. And then after we finally got the employment contract to the federal prosecutors, the oligarch's lawyers were like, no, we don't, it doesn't say that. It doesn't allow him to do the things the plain language says. And the DOJ was like, okay. And so all they would say to us is yes, we have all of your money. Yes, you've now lost your home, your retirement, your careers. That's what we want to. So could you please just plead guilty and stop bothering us? We don't think your employment contract allowed you to do that. That's what they said. We don't think the employment contract allows that. So apparently the DOJ is now in the business of interpreting Amazon.com's employment contract, the criminal lawyers. Sounds right. The other thing is this other federal prosecutor, Uzo Asonye. He told my husband's lawyers when this started, come on, man, we don't want to take this to trial. What? So you want to accuse my husband of a federal crime, take all of our assets and destroy our lives, but you You're not going to go to trial? Okay. So the next thing that happened is that Amazon sued my husband for racketeering when we wouldn't plead guilty. And then finally that case went into the discovery, which is an exchange of information. And then the oligarch's lawyer, former federal prosecutor, called up his friends at the DOJ. This time he called prosecutors Matthew Burke and Jamar Walker. There were like 17 prosecutors that tried to get this done for Jeff. And they called and said, like, we need to talk because it's time for us to turn over all of our communications between Amazon and the DOJ, and like probably not a good look. And then the prosecutors were like, oh my God, you're right, we cannot do this. I'm surprised people didn't just destroy emails, but they didn't. And instead, the prosecutors arranged for a phone call with the oligarch's lawyers and all of Amazon's targets and their lawyers, including my husband. And on this phone call first, federal prosecutor Jamar Walker was like, hey, I just want to make sure no one's recording this. Someone did. Don't know who. Anyway, then prosecutor Matt Burke said to my husband and the Amazon's other targets, if you don't agree to an immediate stay of Amazon's civil lawsuit, you are going to get what you deserve. The DOJ will find a way to prosecute you for witness tampering or obstruction of justice, even if we don't charge you with any underlying crime. What? And Matt Burke said we were fighting a war we could not win. Why? Can nobody beat the oligarch and the Department of Justice together? Very clear threats. Also super weird for the DOJ to get on a phone call and threaten targets of a criminal investigation to not defend themselves in a civil lawsuit that the DOJ is not a part of. Like, that is some real oligarch shit, right? Federal prosecutors threatening Americans not to defend themselves in civil lawsuits, or they will get what they deserve from the government. Like, are these friggin' Jeff Bezos gunmen? What? This is my life. So anyway, my husband's like, I mean, you've already destroyed my life. Go ahead. You know, he believed in the truth of his employment contract, dear God, which like a 5-year-old could read, or at least a first-year law student. And so my husband's like, nope, I'm not gonna stop defending myself in the civil lawsuit that's baseless. Husband defends himself, wins the civil lawsuit, wherein the federal judge eventually says, yes, Mr. Nelson, you were authorized by your employment contract, the explicit terms of it, to do what Amazon says is a crime. Like, we didn't need to waste 4 years and all of those FBI raids and civil forfeitures and all that stuff. In the meantime, because my husband went through the civil lawsuit and defended himself, he got those communications between Amazon and the DOJ. Holy shit, you guys. The oligarch's lawyers had unprecedented access to federal prosecutors. If you know anything about the DOJ, you're supposed to, like, if you get a chance to report a crime, an independent prosecutor would take those allegations and investigate, send out subpoenas, etc. That's not what happened here. Here, the oligarch's lawyers had over 100 meetings with the prosecutors, including multiple 50-page PDF pitches of criminal theories with their evidence, including like their wrong and false interpretation of the employment contract, their code of conduct, and all this other stuff. The oligarch's lawyers, along with their business partners at IPI, wrote in emails to the prosecutors that they wanted to tell the DOJ when they should take their investigation overt. Like, private lawyers telling the FBI, we're gonna need to weigh in on when you take this investigation public. This like very scandalous employment allegation. Like, what the fuck? Amazon's lawyers told the DOJ that here is Mr. Nelson's employee direct deposit bank account information. You know, maybe good for seizure, I don't know. There are multiple emails where the oligarch's lawyers are directing the FBI to subpoena Amazon for certain information. They're like running the investigation. I mean, strong men if I've ever seen them. Feels like the things they tell me about Russia and Putin. Anyway, because we proved all of this stuff, the DOJ ultimately ended up having to vacate pleas it had obtained from alleged co-conspirators based on the lies Amazon told. Those pleas weren't in the interest of justice. So like, these 4 men were convinced to plead guilty and agree to go to prison for helping my husband allegedly violate his Amazon employment terms, when in fact, because we fought, we were able to get past the strongmen and prove that my husband's Amazon employment contract, like a plain written document that, again, a first-year law student could read, authorized him to do exactly what Amazon complained of and was no violation in a civil court, let alone sending men to prison. So like, in a move that was unprecedented in American history, the DOJ vacated 4 pleas. I mean, the oligarch tried to create a crime and got like 17 prosecutors and a bunch of FBI agents to go around the country, spend years and millions of your taxpayer dollars trying to put my husband in prison. I mean, come on. And nobody will tell you about it in the media because Mr. Bezos owns a paper where he is apparently telling them they can't endorse presidential candidates or publish cartoons that are mean to him, which is super oligarch shit. And then the other media depends on the revenue from the oligarch's company Amazon buying ads. Mr. Bezos decides the news you hear, the media you see, and apparently whether or not you go to prison. I just thought America should know about it. And now that we're finally talking about the oligarchy, it seems like the perfect time to share our story. It's not funny. It's like, there are days I can still barely get out of bed. I mean, what do you think? Is this a prime example of the oligarchy at play in America? I mean, are we all screwed at this point? We shall see. May the odds ever be in our favor.
TikTok ban might have revealed something crazy. Senator Tom Cotton went from $5 million to $7 million because of stock assets, meta assets to be exact, but he's never made a trade. So how do you get to $1.4 million in stock assets, but you've never made a trade? More so, a bunch of other congressmen connected to this bill all recently purchased Meta around the same time. Is that not insider trading? You say it's not about free speech and it's about security? Fine. I say it's not about security, it's about capital gain. And before they say, oh no, that's not true, we have documents because stock trades are public. So here's all of the paperwork on Tom Cotton. You're cooked. Somebody needs to do an investigation and overturn this bill, because passing a bill for capital gains should be illegal. And at the very least, taking money out of the hands of Americans and putting it in your pockets, the same Americans that put you in office to govern their society, is kind of whack. Like this video, repost it, and comment so everybody can see what he did.
I'm a software engineer here to tell you that you need to delete Facebook Messenger. I work with a lot of data and information, and I can tell you that out of all social media apps, Facebook Messenger is the worst. Not Facebook, not Instagram, it is Facebook Messenger. When you download Facebook Messenger, they have access to everything on your phone. They have access to your passwords. They have access to what apps you've downloaded, your financial information, messages. They have access to everything. In addition, when you connect to a Wi-Fi network, they now have access to everyone's devices or your other devices on that Wi-Fi network as well, and all of the information on those devices. Your search history, your usage data, your contacts, they're all now in the hands of Meta. Why do you think Meta has tried so hard to get TikTok banned? It's because they know that as long as people are using TikTok, fewer people are using their products, including Messenger, and fewer people are giving them their data. TikTok isn't going to get banned because they're possibly going to sell our data to China. They're going to get banned because the US government and companies want the data for themselves.
Delete, deactivate, and defund Meta. Y'all give me just a minute. Don't scroll. Here's the deal. It doesn't take a rocket scientist. You can do your homework yourself. Meta spent $19 million in 2024 lobbying politicians to push for a TikTok ban. I want you to go to your Robinhood account, or I want you to go to Meta's stock and look at the year to date. I want you to look specifically at about April the 24th, April 25th. The stock took $100 a share dive, and by that following Monday, it started running through the roof, and it's been climbing ever since. Why? Because that's when the TikTok ban was passed. And it, for something that was so detrimental to our safety, it could not pass as a standalone bill. Mike Johnson passed it as a bundled package where it was never debated on the House floor. Now, ain't it funny how right as Meta spends $19 million in 1 year, they get a TikTok ban? Why is that important? Because the average TikTok user spends over 53 minutes a day scrolling that phone, compared to Facebook at just 30 minutes. That difference in 23 minutes is costing Mark Zuckerberg and Meta, his Meta minions, hundreds of millions of dollars in advertising dollars. That's what it's about. Not to mention the fact that we can share the information and call out people like Jeff Jackson, one who used TikTok to get his name and his platform for his political stances across TikTok, and then turn around and voted to ban it. We're not even going to talk about the hundreds and thousands of pedophiles that have been arrested through Roblox. Or how about the people on Instagram convincing kids that they can be whatever gender and whatever animal they want to be. And we're going to leave the southern border wide open and allow fentanyl and drugs. You realize fentanyl is killing more people than any terrorist organization in the world? but TikTok's the enemy. Now we know what it's about. It's about Meta losing advertising dollars, losing billions of dollars to TikTok. So here's the deal: if just 1/3 of the 174 million United States TikTok users will deactivate, delete, and defund Meta, we can hit Mark Zuckerberg where it matters. He will lose over $12 billion. And that's if we only get 1/3 of the users. But if y'all will repost this videos and get the message out to get off of Meta starting on January the 19th, we can send a clear message to the politicians that we got receipts. We know who you took campaign contributions from. And for people like Senator Tom Cotton, who takes his money from Apollo Global Management Group, so trying to hide where his campaign contributions come from, it just takes one step further to search and see how much big tech supports Apollo Management Group. Hey, the cookies are on the bottom shelf, and we got the receipts. Defund, deactivate, and cancel Meta.
I do believe that banning a social media app like TikTok is a violation of the First Amendment. I haven't had a chance to read the ruling yet, but very disappointed. 170 million Americans express themselves on TikTok on a daily basis, and it's just wrong for the government to ban it. Most of the reasons the government banned it were based on accusations, not proof. I've never been tried and found guilty of sharing information with a communist government or any of that. They've actually offered, through our Foreign Investment Committee that oversees foreign investments, they've offered to have the data here. They've offered to work with Oracle to house the data in the United States. They've offered to have an American board. In fact, it's misreported that it's a Chinese company to begin with. It's owned, 60% of the company is owned by international investors. But disappointing. I don't think the battle's over yet, though. I'm hopeful that President Trump, in coming in, can have some ability. It sounds like Biden left the door open, perhaps, for some executive action from President Trump, and I hope that's what will happen.
I still cannot get over the beauty of us coming together. I am so blessed to have seen this day. China and America defying the governments and us coming together in one platform, and then we are joined by the other nationalities, and I have lived to see this day of one world, new world, true world, united world, utopia.
There are so many different alternatives that could happen, but at this point, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm actually really comfortable with YouTube and the support that I get on YouTube. And I know that I will only grow as a creator. And I'm truthfully not really worried about whether TikTok is on here or not. Because the app itself is not a big deal to me. And it's not to say that I don't care. I want to make it clear that I do like the app. That TikTok is what gave me a start even into YouTube. It made it much easier for me to make a segue or a pathway for myself to have success on YouTube without taking as many years as I think it would have taken had I not had TikTok at my disposal. I've learned a lot on TikTok, a lot. And I've been able to share a lot. TikTok has brought me through some really dark days. And I've learned by being able to free myself, I could free others. It has definitely been a journey. And if and when TikTok ever comes back, I just feel like it is a good lesson to learn to roll with the punches. I always try to teach my kids that, things might change at a drop of a dime. And if it does, you just have to be ready to roll with it. Now, coming from somebody with ADHD, that is generally not the easiest for us because we like stability, we like repetitive behavior. But it's a good thing to learn to kind of just keep it pushing. And you know what? Better things always come. Things always get better. I know a lot of times it doesn't feel like it is, but it does. And sometimes you really just have to trust your journey. But I'm very grateful for the fact that TikTok was able to give me so much, and I was able to give TikTok so much. And I just appreciate the experience. But, it might be time to move on, and I am okay with that. So I am sad to not be able to meet so many friends and stuff, but, we'll meet new friends in other places and other ways. Life just goes on. So I appreciate each and every one of you guys for this journey that I've been on with you all, and you guys have been able to watch me grow, which I really love the fact that, y'all have been here. So you have seen my page grow, you've seen me grow, and I'm excited about that. And y'all, my daughter made honor roll yesterday. No, student of the month. And I'm so proud of her. That made my day. And coming from a mom with a child with ADHD as well, that really struggled with organization and really like getting herself together, she has made like such great progress in the last 2 years. Last year she made honor roll. She was the very last student last year to get honor roll. And she was so happy. And I was so happy for her because that was something she always wanted to be and didn't think she would become. But for her this year to make honor roll and not be the last student of the school year. And when I picked her up in the carpool line, she was just so ecstatic. And it just warmed my heart. It just warmed my heart. It was like she was waiting to see my facial reaction when I saw it. And once she saw my face reaction, she lit up. It was a moment I wish I would have recorded, but I didn't know it was happening. So, but it was such a good moment. So I'm happy that I'm able to experience those moments with her, where traditionally it would have been my mom picking her up from school and I would have been at work and I wouldn't have seen her until like 7 o'clock. And by that time I would have just gotten a picture and it wouldn't have been the same. So I'm very grateful for moments like that. So happy Friday night, y'all. Love you guys lots. Bye-bye for now.